come to the bold analysis. Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi explanation, reason as to why the government cannot be able to finance secondary, junior, and free primary education is a big lie. And in this podcast, what Mbadi is telling the country as a capacity problem, we are going to debunk and show you where exactly money meant for this free primary secondary education goes to. We are going to demonstrate the wanton corruption in the ministry, why this explanation by Mbadi is a bad move, and I think the public should not take it. At this point, we can say it is ironical that President Ruto administration are only focusing on how they can maximize taxes from the people. But when they get back to the office, they're equally putting more efforts to withdraw services from the people. I think in this country, we're in a circus of one after the other. And why? And what Ruto package as reforms in education, in health, in public transport, in airport, in tourism, all these things packaged as reforms are actually conduits of siphoning public money. Kindly subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell and like our videos. And thank you very much for supporting this podcast. We do this each and every day because of your support. And without much ado, Mbadi appeared before a parliamentary committee. And in that committee, he explained that the government is not able to fund free primary and secondary education.
We've been told 50% has been released in full, and that 30% has been released in full. I would wish he concentrates on that without even going to the debts. If we are not funding, you have not released 80% of the 22,000 to be specific, 244.
Yeah.
So you have released 80% of what? This conversation will continue very well. We are not against anyone. Thank you.
Yeah. Odour, again?
Yes, Madam Chair, I write on it. Because the government has been lying, why can't you say 80% of 16,000 or 80% of 17,000? Because the amount that you have been providing, if you hand up what you are giving to an individual child is how much, it is better you say that you are able to provide 17,000 and not to use 22,000 as reference point, because there is no time that you have attained that amount. So give the Kenyans the right figures.
Let's
Chair, just on the same, when the CS says that the money is not enough for expectation, what is the difference between expectation and a budget? And who is talking about this expectation? Is it not about the Kenyan government, or it is the people's expectation?
Yeah, just let me
proceed.
let me put it
Yes,
into perspective. Actually, I borrowed the words of Honorable Mboko Mlemba. He's asked me specifically the inconsistency between the expectation and the budget, and that is what I'm addressing. And by the way, let us not live a lie. The budget we provide cannot give 22,000 to each child. In Kenya, it is not possible.
Something that really irritated people in this country, and it's been the debate of the week. Yes. And of course, what happens here, free secondary education was introduced in 2013 when Uhuru Kenyatta came to power. And it was in their campaign manifesto. What they actually used to give was supposed to be given was 22,000. It was scaled down to 17,000. From 22,000, it was scaled down to 17,000. Then the breakdown on how it is capitation, of course, per student. 15,000 for JSS, 17,000 for secondary school, and 1,400 for public primary schools. So, do you know that even this 17,000 that Mbadi is talking about, they give it in phases and they still owe schools more and more? When he was asked the figures or more about this, what exactly is the challenge? According to Mbadi, we cannot be able to fund free primary education because we have other competing interests.
I wanted to demonstrate to you the reasons why the government is finding it difficult to finance each child at 22,000, in junior school at 15,000, and in primary at 1,400, because we have other competing needs for funds. Hence, that underfunding. The competing needs, I started with the debt repayment. The reason why probably 5 years or 7 years ago we were able to meet the requirements, apart from the fact that we adopted a free secondary education, was also because that time the debt repayment was low. Now the debt repayment is high, and it is said everywhere, putting a strain on our resources, hence impairing our ability to meet it. But we are struggling as a government to make sure that we don't unduly underfund education. So,
you know, we are paying debts. We are doing other things. Is it really true that we cannot fund free public education? We cannot fund education sector. And he's saying that it's a question of underfunding. It is not underfunding. Underfunding is a deliberate attempt. Of course, Parliament approves the budget. The ministry gives projections on what they expect. When they also have budget estimations that ministry can also gives to the Budget and Appropriation Committee yenye nagawa hiyo cake. So, ladies and gentlemen, is it underfunding problem or it is underfunding issue that is designed? According to Mbadi and according to William Ruto, is that free primary and secondary education should be scrapped. That is their position. And what is irritating the people, is a question of we don't have the capacity. No.
We are very surprised with the current administration. Mr. President, you are further disappointing Kenyans who gave you a chance to lead this country. Because you cannot wake up today and say you can afford money kujengea watu nyumba, you can afford money ya kujenga kanisa State House, you can afford money ya kuenda masafari mbalimbali nje ya nchi, but you cannot afford money to pay for school fees ya watoto wetu wa nchi ya Kenya. I mean, this is really proving to be a failed government. Tunasema hivi, Bwana Rais, ile vitu vingine yote unalipa, enda ukate hiyo vitu, uweke pesa kwa elimu, ndio tuweze kusomesha watoto wetu wa nchi ya Kenya. Yes, the priority number one ya equalization in any country is through education. Ndio sababu utafanya boma ya maskini itoshane siku zijazo na boma ya tajiri. Sababu pale umeelimisha mtoto, amepata maarifa, ameweza kubobea, ameingia katika nchi ya Kenya, akapata ajira, ama ameenda ng'ambo, na hiyo ajira yenye amepata inamsaidia kwenda kuinua hali ya uchumi ya ile familia na eneo yenye anatoka.
It is not a capacity problem. Do you know that we have a school that received 50 million money for capitation, and that school does not even exist?
Siku chache baada ya mkaguzi mkuu wa hesabu za serikali kudai kwamba pesa zililipwa kwa shule hewa katika bajeti ya mwaka uliopita, waziri wa elimu Migoso Gamba naye alipokea maswali mazito.
For example, we talk about Bomet High School, received 50 million. Bomet High School does not exist, but you send this money through Tenwek.
And the ministry has left the responsibility of providing infrastructure largely to NGCDF, which has limited resources.
Citizen did that story. This school don't even exist. And according to the control of budget, according to Auditor General, that school received 50 billion. And that opens a Pandora box on the strategy, or rather, it's not a strategy, on a loophole that has been created within the system, where people manufacture ghost schools, used the ghost schools to make fictitious payments to specific accounts, and in the long run, that money runs back to the pocket of the leaders. What is affecting this country are two things: corruption and priority. At this point, someone should explain to us in capital letters, what the hell is Kindiki doing with over 30 members of parliament flying with choppers from one county to the other under the guise of an empowerment program, donating millions of shillings, allegedly donating millions of shillings, and on things that do not even happen, things that do not even work, and at the same time, we don't have money for capitation. Come on. Just today, this Saturday, Kindiki started off in Bungoma. After Bungoma, he was in Bungoma and with the leaders flying in very big choppers. From Bungoma, they went to Migori. From Migori, the team is flying to Tharaka-Nithi. Now, look at that wanton wastage. Okay, sasa si hata kama walikuwa naifanya, see, they even organize, they do it in Bungoma. You just do Western. Bungoma, Migori, Homa Bay, probably Siaya, then spend in Kisumu. The next day fly to Nairobi. And if you're doing Mount Kenya, just do Embu, Tharaka-Nithi, Nyeri, probably. But imagine someone has to leave Migori and then fly all the way to Tharaka-Nithi. Mepita hapa katikati. So when people see that kind of wastage, we are told leaders who visit the president in State House receive some 100 million, some 100,000 shillings each. How many people does President Peter in State House per week? The number is huge. And I saw a video from Rigathi Gachagua actually saying how the money trails back to people's pockets.
I have just seen a clip in 2017 when William Ruto was deputy president. He was saying that if re-elected together with Uhuru Kenyatta, free education for primary and secondary will continue.
Mpaka form 4 watasoma bila malipo yoyote. Sasa kuanzia Januari mwaka ujao, masomo kutoka standard 1 mpaka form 4 itaendelea bila ya wazazi kulipa school fees.
He is president. He has trashed all that. And what is sad is that this money that was meant for free education has been diverted by the National Treasury, by the experts ODM brought to government. They have diverted money for education. The money is channeled through the security sectors, is withdrawn in cash and given to William Ruto. This money William Ruto uses to bribe leaders, church leaders, to bribe members of parliament, to bribe members of the county assembly, to bribe everybody in Kenya for political support. The bulk of this money is what Soprano is using all over the country. This money that was meant for education is what this Soprano guy is having helicopters, the way Professor has said. Today they were in Mombasa. The helicopters are almost having an accident in the air because of the sheer number of helicopters hovering all over. And this is money that was meant for education. And I cannot understand how Soprano, who is a professor, would want to take part in going round wasting money meant for education on nonsense and politics. But sometimes I was just thinking about it last night. How did we get here? Why is William Ruto destroying education? And I thought about it at night, and I have come to the conclusion is the advisors he has chosen. William Ruto has many very advisors, very educated, but they are all flower girls. They don't advise him on anything, they are just for show. I was his deputy, so I know. When I tell you, I know what happens. He has two advisors whom he takes advice from. Oscar Sudi, who is a standard 3 dropout. Farouk Kibet, who is a standard 6 dropout. So these two advisors have no value for education. So they have advised William Ruto to get money meant for education and take it to bribe people on useless empowerment programs that are not empowering anybody. I saw a lady in Kisii complaining that after spending the whole day for the empowerment program, she has a group of 31 people that were given 2,000 shillings. All this money is stolen by Soprano and the members of parliament. And this is the money that was meant for education.
This is what he actually revealed. And just to show you that people are not buying the Mbadi story and all that literature is giving the masses, people are not buying. I saw another video where another gentleman was also complaining about free primary, about scrapping of free primary education. And let me tell you, even this SHA, housing levy, even all this started this way. I saw a proposal from Ahmed Nasir, Mombasa governor, Abdul Swamad Nasir, Mombasa governor, yesterday. He said, how much are we collecting from the housing levy 1.5? The 1.5%. How much are we collecting? We are collecting a lot. He questioned, why can't we take a percentage of that money and then take to education? Like, we are in a country where free primary education, unajua people don't just know. Hiyo kitu imesaidia sana. Free primary and free secondary education. I was not a beneficiary of free secondary, but I was a beneficiary of free primary at some point. Because I finished my class 8 in 2008. So I'm a beneficiary of free primary. So when free secondary was introduced in 2013, I was already out of school. I was already out of secondary school. But this was my point, that you cannot purport to build houses. People, you are really busy telling people we have a housing problem. You know, and so you deduct people's money here under the guise of building people houses. But these people you're building to houses cannot pay school fees for their children. What is the priority? Between the parents having a house, a decent house, and the children going to school, which one comes primary? So we set some small budget for education, and I want to see how it is designed. When you present your budget, you present a very small budget for education that cannot be able to cover it. You don't complain at that point. It is as if Mbadi is behaving as if he didn't know how much is needed. Then you create a crisis, a shortfall. From a crisis, you get a leeway to scrap the program. What was the objective? Your objective was actually to scrap the program. Your objective was to scrap the program. And let me tell you, when it was housing levy, people argued that it is the working class were worst hit. And President went to hustlers and told them, you guys don't complain. You are not being deducted. The people who are being deducted are people in formal employment. When it came to university funding model, students said, no, it's students' issue, so don't touch it. It's a students' issue. Now it came to free primary and secondary education. Ruto has gone after the children. And this school, we even scrapped some Eduafia, an insurance scheme that was supporting those children wakiwa shule. Come on. What exactly is wrong with us? I finish here by saying it will be a big blunder. While we want to hide under the guise of paying debts, it is not William Ruto is the first president to pay debts. No, we've been paying debts. We've been paying debts. It is not true that we don't have the capacity. It is simply we don't have the intention. And if you can have priority spending, the money being used by people moving around choppers in this country, for that thing to happen, we just need to be intentional. Thank you.